Good morning. Welcome to Children's Time with Rochelle. We made it through another week and we're back to Sunday, starting another week. And so let's start it right with some Bible lessons. Anyway, I hope you guys all had a good week last week. It was nice weather-wise, kind of chilly at the beginning, but we ended the week with some sun in the skies and some warm weather. And I think this coming week's supposed to be nice, which is extra nice because we have Turkey Day coming on Thursday. We all get to sit around and eat some turkey. And I know it'll be a little bit different for everybody this year with COVID going around. Not everybody's going to get to be in their big family groups, probably like they usually are. I know at my house, it's just going to be the four of us. It's going to be me and Jason and Taylor and Riley. And that's usually we get to have our grandmas and grandpas out with us. And this year, to be safe, we're not doing that. So it should still be a good time. And I know that's probably how it is at a lot of your guys' houses. But you should be able to still eat some turkey and watch some football. If you're at my house, you'll definitely be watching football. So anyway, before we get to that, let's go ahead and start our lesson for today. Our lesson today, we are still talking about Jesus's parables, his stories that he told to people and the disciples to teach them lessons. And we're still in the book of Matthew. And our story today is called Sheep and Goats. And we'll see what Jesus is using the sheep and goats, what he's talking about when he talks about that. So I will get my handy dandy Spark Bible. And here's our picture today. Our story's short. It's only 2 pages. But if you look, we have a shepherd in the middle. And what's all around him? That's his flock of sheep. And I think Squiggles is wanting to be like with the flock of sheep. They all look very happy and all glad to be with their shepherd. And if you look way back there, what are those? Those are our goats. And we've got a little tiny one over here. And they're button heads and not getting along. So let's read our story and see if those pictures mean anything after we read our story. Sheep and goats. Jesus told his disciples they were like sheep. They cared for each other, and Jesus was their shepherd. They would be like goats if they didn't listen and didn't care. He said, "Do you remember when you fed the woman who was hungry?" "Yes," they replied. "Do you remember when you visited the old man in prison?" he asked. "Oh, yes, he was lonely," they answered. "Do you remember when you gave clothing to the children who didn't have anything to wear?" Jesus asked. Yes, they were very cold. They remembered. "Every time you care for someone, it is like you are caring for me too," Jesus explained. "God will welcome you into the kingdom of heaven." The disciples wanted to be like sheep. They knew they would be welcome in heaven. So I think in our story, Jesus is saying that sheep all stay in a flock. They stay together. Their shepherd watches over them, like Jesus watches over us. And the sheep also kind of watch over the shepherd. And whenever the sheep do something nice for one another or, keep together, that's doing something nice for their shepherd. So whenever we do something nice, like in the examples that Jesus gave in our story, they gave children who didn't have clothing, they gave them clothing. They went to a prison and talked to an old man who was in prison, and he was sad and he was lonely. And they also fed a woman who didn't have any food. And Jesus said, when we do things like that, we're not only doing something nice for that person, but we're doing something nice for Jesus. And because of that, God will welcome us into his kingdom. And if we're goats, goats are stubborn and they don't like to be together. They like to be by themselves, and they hit heads and they fight. That's what he was saying. If we're like that, then we're not being nice, and so it's being mean towards Jesus and God as well. So we want to be like sheep, not goats. All right. So I've got my Spark workbook. My workbook. Some of my stuff fell out from last time, so let's put that over there. So I'm going to read. I'll read my little recap of my sheep and goats. because sometimes this explains the story a little bit better than I can explain it. Jesus told the disciples that he was like a shepherd. So Jesus is like the shepherd. And when the disciples cared for people who were hungry or thirsty or cold or lonely, they were like Jesus' sheep. And just like when we do those things, we're like Jesus' sheep. When the disciples didn't care for people, they were like goats. Every time you care for someone, it is like you are caring for me too, Jesus said. So when we care for others, we're being like sheep. And when we don't care for others and we're being mean, we're being like goats. All right. So I'm going to read this little thing. It's a difference. What are the differences between sheep and goats? So here's our goat down here, and here's our sheep. And this is just some information you guys might find interesting. So the Bible and our world. So sheep and goats were raised for their milk, meat, hair, and skin by people in the Bible times, and also today. Here are some differences between sheep and goats. Sheep's tails usually hang down like this, so they hang lower, and goats' tails usually point up like this. So if you look at our picture of our sheep and our sheep, you can't even see his tail because it's down, but see our little goat tail? It's pointing up. Sheep eat mostly grass, and goats will eat anything. If you've ever seen a goat, they will go through the trash and they will eat cans. They will eat grass. They'll eat bugs. They're not too particular. Sheep usually stick with their flock. So sheep like to be in a big group with all their other sheep. Goats are more independent. They are very curious and can even climb into trees. I've seen this on TV. A goat can actually get up, not into like a big tall pine tree, but they can get up into decent size trees and bushes. So why do you think Jesus used sheep and goats as an example in his story? I think they use sheep and goats because they're so different. Like this said, sheep like to be in their group with their flock and they care for each other. Goats do not. They don't want to be by themselves and they don't want to be bothered with other goats. So Jesus was saying, if you're like a goat, that's not the way that you should be. And if you're like that, you're treating not only other people badly, you're also treating Jesus badly. All right. So our activity for today, it's not a craft. It's another activity, kind of like the one we did the last time when we made wading bags. We're going to make something else, but instead of putting something together for yourself, we're going to put something together for you to send to somebody else. So it says, when people are unable to leave the hospital or their home, they can become very lonely. And right now, since we're all trying to stay out of public places so we can get rid of corona and the virus that's going around, all of us are staying home. And sometimes there's a lot of people that don't get to see like their moms and dads and their grandmas and grandpas because they need to stay home and we don't want to go around them and make them sick. So this is a perfect craft perfect activity for what's going on in our world today. This says, look for an opportunity in your church or community to care for folks who need some cheering. So we are going to take a little box, if you have one, and we are going to make a care package. Now, have you guys ever heard of a care package? This is just a little package of items that you put together that can be sent to someone just to let them know that you're thinking about them. So I made my own care package. So here's my box I started with. I don't know where I got this nice little tiny box, but it's perfect. So I will open it. And I'm not going to tell you who I did my care package for yet. I'll do that at the end. But I wanted to show you what I put in my care package. So I put, and these are just little things that, hey, I'm thinking about you and I'm worried about you and I hope you're feeling well and doing okay. So because we're in the times that we are, and this is a requirement around our state, I put in a face mask into my care package. I also put in a little bag of goldfish so they can have a little snack. I put in a little bottle of lotion. And this is another thing that's good for our times. I put in a little bottle of hand sanitizer, and I put in some Kleenex, and I actually found some little Christmas tissues. I put those in there. And I found a little thing of chapstick, and it's also Christmassy, so I put that in there. And I also put in some gum. So you can put all of that stuff together in your care package. Put all my little items back in my care package. And I'll show it to you once I get everything in. So there's that much of it. And then I'll put my goldfish on top and my face mask. And then I told you I would tell you who I made my care package for. So because of COVID and because we're supposed to be staying away from each other, I have not got to see my mom for a really long time. We talk and we text each other quite a bit, and at least every week or every couple times during the week. But I have not got to see her for probably a good month or more. So I did my care package to my mom. And I just wrote her a little note, and you can do this too, even if whoever you send it to, your grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, maybe you have a friend you haven't seen in a really long time, maybe a teacher, anybody that you think you're just missing and you want them to know that you're thinking about them. I said, "Dear Mom, just a little package to let you know that I am thinking about you and that I miss you so much. I hope you are staying healthy and safe. Love you always, Rochelle." And so you can just put that little note right into your care package box like this. So there is my completed care package. Seal your package up, give it to your mom and your dad or an adult, and have them tape your box up and put an address on it, and then they could take it to the post office and either mail it to that person, or if it's somewhere that you live close and they can drop it off and just put it on their patio or in their mailbox, you could do that too. So that is your activity for this afternoon. And I know with the virus going around that there is probably somebody in every family that you haven't got to see for a while. So I thought that would be a great idea. All right, you guys, let's say our prayer, and I will get out of your hair for the day and let you get on with your weekend. All right. So let's do our praying hands. I'm just going to do regular praying hands. You can do heart. You can put your hands on your heart. You can fold your arms. I'm just going to do regular. Okay. Jesus, we care for each other because we are part of your flock. Please help us to have a good week and a happy Thanksgiving. Amen. All right, guys, have a great week and have a happy Thanksgiving, and eat extra turkey and extra pie for me. I miss you guys, and I will check in again next week. All right, see ya.